People notice what you wear before they notice who you are. Sometimes, they decide your worth in a single glance, without ever hearing your story. And sometimes, the quietest person in the room is carrying a life you'd never imagine. This is the story of a man who walked into a place where he didn't belong, at least, that's what everyone thought. They laughed at him. They judged him. But a few minutes later, everything changed in a way no one saw coming. Before we begin, if stories like this touch your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Welcome to Kindness Story Hub, where real stories remind us how powerful a simple act of kindness can be. It was a chilly Friday afternoon in downtown Chicago. The kind of cold that seeps through your jacket and makes you walk a little faster. People rushed in and out of a busy cafe called Maple and Brew, a popular spot known for its cozy atmosphere and expensive menu. Inside, the place was buzzing. Young professionals tapped away on laptops. Friends laughed over coffee. A couple sat quietly in the corner, sharing a slice of cheesecake. And then the door opened. A man stepped inside, and everything seemed to slow down, not because he demanded attention, but because he didn't fit in. He wore an old, faded jacket with frayed sleeves. His jeans were worn out, and his shoes looked like they had seen years of walking. His hair was slightly unkempt, and his face carried a quiet, tired expression. A few people glanced at him, then quickly looked away. Others didn't bother hiding their reactions. A group of college students sitting near the counter exchanged looks. One of them smirked. "Wrong place, buddy," he whispered just loud enough for his friends to hear. They chuckled. The man didn't react. He simply walked up to the counter, calm and composed. The barista, a young woman named Emily, hesitated for a moment. She wasn't sure what to expect. "Hi," she said, trying to sound neutral. "What can I get for you?" The man looked at the menu for a few seconds. "I'll have a black coffee," he said softly. "Medium." Emily nodded. "That'll be $4.50. The man reached into his pocket and pulled out a few crumpled bills and coins. He carefully counted them, making sure he had enough. Behind him, someone sighed loudly. "Come on, man, some of us are in a hurry," a well-dressed customer said impatiently. The man didn't rush. He finished counting and handed over the money with a polite nod. "Thank you," he said. Emily gave a small smile, feeling a twinge of guilt for judging him, even if only for a second. He took his coffee and looked around for a place to sit. Most tables were full, but there was an empty seat at a large shared table where a few people were working. As he approached, one woman quickly gathered her laptop and moved to another spot. "I need more space anyway," she muttered. The man paused for a moment, then quietly sat down at the edge of the table. He wrapped his hands around the warm cup, as if trying to hold onto the heat. Minutes passed. The laughter from the college students grew louder. Every now and then, they glanced in his direction, whispering and smirking. "Dude looks like he hasn't bought new clothes since 2005, one of them said. "Probably wandered in here by accident," another added. Still, the man said nothing. He simply sat there, sipping his coffee, staring out the window at the busy street. Emily watched from behind the counter. Something didn't sit right with her. She couldn't explain it, but she felt uncomfortable with how everyone was treating him. After a moment, she made a decision. She poured a fresh pastry onto a plate and walked over to his table. "Excuse me," she said gently. We had an extra croissant. Would you like it? The man looked up, surprised. For me, he asked. She smiled. Yes. He hesitated for a second, then nodded. Thank you. That's very kind of you. As he took the plate, their eyes met for just a moment, and Emily noticed something she hadn't seen before. There was dignity in his gaze. Quiet strength. And a warmth that didn't match the way people were treating him. Have a good day, she said softly. You too, he replied. Back at the counter, one of her co-workers leaned in. You didn't have to do that, he whispered. Emily shrugged. I wanted to. About 20 minutes later, the man finished his coffee. He stood up, placed the empty cup neatly on the table, and walked toward the door. As he stepped outside, the group of students burst into laughter again. Guess he couldn't afford a second cup, one of them joked. And then, the man in the old clothes walked straight toward it. For a second, no one inside the cafe spoke. He paused before getting in, reaching into his pocket again. This time, he pulled out something small and handed it to the driver, maybe a note or a tip. Then he nodded, stepped into the car, and sat down like it was the most normal thing in the world. The door closed. The car drove away. Inside the cafe, silence. The same people who had laughed just moments ago now stared at the empty street, their expressions frozen in disbelief. Wait, what? One of the students said. No way, another whispered. Emily felt a strange mix of emotions, shock, curiosity, and something deeper. Regret. Later that day, during a quiet moment, Emily's manager approached her. You know who that was? He asked. She shook her head. That's Daniel Carter, he said. He owns half the buildings on this block. Emily blinked. What? Yeah, her manager continued. Real estate investor. Very private guy. I've heard he built his entire business from nothing. Emily looked toward the door, replaying everything in her mind. The old jacket. The careful counting of money. The quiet way he carried himself. None of it made sense, until it did. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He was just being himself. The next morning, Emily arrived early for her shift. As she was setting up the counter, she noticed something on the staff bulletin board. A handwritten note. It read, "Thank you for your kindness yesterday. It meant more than you know. Daniel." Taped to the note was an envelope. Inside, there was a check, enough to cover a week's wages for every employee in the cafe. Emily's eyes filled with tears. He hadn't said anything. He hadn't corrected anyone. He hadn't demanded respect. He simply responded, with kindness. Word spread quickly. The story of the man in old clothes became a quiet lesson for everyone who had been there that day. The students stopped laughing. The impatient customer returned later, looking embarrassed. And Emily, she never forgot that moment. Because it reminded her of something simple, yet powerful. You never really know who someone is. You don't know their story, their struggles, or their successes. And more importantly, kindness should never depend on appearances. Sometimes, the person you overlook is the very person who will change your perspective forever. Sometimes, the smallest act, a warm smile, a free croissant, a moment of respect, can echo louder than anything else. So the next time you see someone who seems out of place, pause. Choose kindness. Because you're not just showing who they are. You're showing who you are. And that is what truly matters. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs a reminder today. Let's make the world a little kinder, one moment at a time.